Starting a new sketchbook can be rather stressful. Some people really struggle with the blank canvas syndrome, opening it up and seeing that pristine page, and then wondering what you could possibly put on it that's going to set the tone for months of time invested into this sketchbook. Maybe you purchased something expensive, something you had to save up to get. The ideal sketchbook that you found in a YouTube video or on an Instagram post, and now as you open it up, terror fills your belly because you don't want to mess up that first page. This is not an uncommon occurrence. I'm starting a new sketchbook today, and so I'm going to start here with my face, and then we're going to dive into how I'm going to start that sketchbook and how I'm going to think about it. I'm going to frame it in maybe 2 or 3 different ways that I've approached sketchbooks in the past, and hopefully one of those strategies will work well for you. So let's take a look. This is that new sketchbook. It's nothing special or crazy, nothing that I special ordered. It's just something that we ran into when we were at the store, and I was frankly buying art supplies for my daughter, and my wife insisted, because they were on sale, that I go ahead and get myself a new Bristol sketchbook. This sketchbook is going to be primarily for ink, if not for ink alone. I like having sketchbooks like this that are set aside for specific things. Now, as you may see, I'm pulling out some stickers. This is kind of a funny thing that I've started doing recently. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of my friends who really decorate their art supplies. They decorate their sketchbooks or their studios and things like that, and I thought this was kind of a silly thing in the past. The older that I get, the more that I realize there is simple joy in things like stickers, in decorating something that you're going to spend a lot of time with. So I've decided to start doing that with some of my sketchbooks as well. There's part of me that kind of wants to go way over the top and decorate the entirety of the front, but I decided to go with something that was a little bit more subdued here. You can see me right off the bat checking the paper texture, making sure it is what I want it to be. As I come into the sketchbook here, I'm going to throw one sticker that I didn't really feel like fit on the front of the sketchbook, and I'm going to put it on the inside corner here. And then I'm going to put my name and the date, because I don't date all of my work anymore. When I was younger, I used to put the date on every single drawing I did. I find that really that's a good idea in a lot of ways, but it is not beautiful in my mind. When I look back at old sketchbooks that have dates all over the place, it seems to me almost like it breaks up some of the art in the book, and so I like it less now. And so thusly, I tend not to do it. And this is why it's important to put the date at the beginning of the sketchbook, so I know how long this sketchbook takes me to complete. I think it's important to customize your sketchbook, to set the tone whenever you sit down to work in it. I decided for the first drawing that I'm going to put in this book that it's going to be something that clues me in when I open it. I decided I'm going to go ahead and do one of my robots, one of the robots that I finished off in the last series, actually. And so this guy is going to be a little reminder to me about the things that I need to think about when I'm starting to work in a new sketchbook. And this actually brings me to the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to starting a new sketchbook, is the fact that it can be a little bit difficult because you have a tendency to put expectations on yourself. A lot of us feel like the first page of a sketchbook sets the tone for the entirety of the book. And this might actually be true, but I would encourage you to work against that in whatever way you can. You don't need that kind of standard or expectation or negativity hanging over you. There's simply no reason for it. As I begin to work on this guy, I chose something that is comfortable to me, something that I've worked on a lot recently. And frankly, this drawing does not turn out the way that I want it to, but I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with it because I've made a lot of sketchbooks, and I understand that each drawing is its own individual thing. And even if the worst drawing in the sketchbook is on that first page, that doesn't set the tone for the entirety of that book. It simply sets a bar for me to continue to work above and beyond. And if you think about it, that really makes sense, doesn't it? That your first drawings in the sketchbook, assuming that you're continuing to improve, should be the worst ones. And yet, we have this tendency to think that if we make a crappy drawing on that first page, that it dooms the rest of that sketchbook to mediocrity. But the other component that I've decided to work on with this, aside from it just being something that is comfortable to me, as I'm actually working on a drawing that is going to help, hopefully, remind me what the purpose of this sketchbook is. And that's the second thing here, is to determine what the purpose of your sketchbook is. And if you find that your sketchbook has no purpose, it's just for drawing, for painting, for fun things, and you are not going to constrain it, that is totally fine. And indeed, that's probably better in most cases. I tend to keep a lot of sketchbooks going simultaneously, and so I try to make sure that I have a defined purpose. This sketchbook's purpose is to house my ink drawings, and I need to remind myself that this sketchbook is allowed to have good things and bad things, ugly things and beautiful things. And so this little robot is going to be pointing to a sign on the wall that is going to remind me about those things. So that's the second thing that I think is really beneficial for you as you are starting a new sketchbook. Think about what the purpose is. If it makes sense to you, write it down and make sure that it's there. And also, try to write something that is going to lead you to be kind to yourself, to put your expectations in a rational spot. I've found that moving into a new sketchbook and assuming that every drawing is going to be of a particular caliber or every drawing has to be the same kind of series or thing can be really detrimental. I have a couple of sketchbooks that back in the day I actually set aside to be world building sketchbooks for a single story. And in every case, and I have 3 of these, I found that I got a couple pages in and abandoned it entirely because there was so much stress associated with that ideal, with the expectations associated there. So I found now that I may be in a position where I can do that again. But for the me of yesteryear, that was a bad choice. And now that I know it, I can work against those things. I can decide to do different things with my artwork, things that are going to allow me to continue to work frequently. So as you determine your purpose, make sure that the purpose is good for you, a purpose that will allow you to do what you need to with your art. And for most of you, hopefully it's just to bring you joy. The art is good for your soul, and so you dive into it. And so remind yourself on that first page, in a note that you write yourself on the inside cover, whatever it might be, that this sketchbook is designed for that purpose, for you. Lastly, I find that it's important to just dive in and to make your first marks. So whatever you determine your purpose is for your sketchbook, get into it as quickly as you can. Maybe take a few minutes and think about what those first marks might be, what you might decide to do, but don't spend too much time there. It's easy to get bogged down in the theoretical and in the conceptual when it comes to starting a new sketchbook. After all, they are blank canvases and they bear infinite possibilities, but that infinity can be terrifying. So try to just get in there and make some marks. Understand that things are not permanent inside of a sketchbook. Things can be built upon, can be erased, pages can be torn out. And though it does make me sad when I see pages torn out of sketchbooks, if that allows you to keep moving forward, if that allows you to keep a page from smudging, if that allows you to have more joy in the experience, then by all means, it is after all your sketchbook and no one else's. So this is the little note that I am leaving to myself. Something that I will be forced to look at nearly every time I open the sketchbook. And I've already, of course, opened it a couple times since then. I'm recording this several days after I made the drawing, and I now have my second page in this sketchbook completed. But this is what it says. This is a sketchbook. It will contain beautiful things. It will contain ugly things. This is its purpose. And I think for me, that's really important. I have a tendency to be a little harsh on myself whenever it comes to making something that I don't like, that doesn't fit my expectations. And the last note there is, now have fun. And the little z, because I never write my whole name out when it comes to things like this. So I would encourage you, as you are starting your new sketchbook, think about decorating it, about making it personal, about making it something that is cute or is cool and exciting, something that you're excited to get into each time you open it. Think about what the purpose of that sketchbook might be, that it is your design, it is your thing, and you are in charge. You control what happens with that. And think about how you can be kind and gracious with yourself as you move through the process of putting things in it. And then lastly, just dive in quickly. Start making things. That way, if you have fear of the blank canvas or if you have expectations, you start to unhinge yourself from those concerns, because the blank canvas can only be so terrifying as long as it remains blank. And once you start working on it, it is now a new thing. Well, I hope you have a lovely time working on your new sketchbook, and I hope this has been beneficial to you in some way. If you don't mind, I would love to hear in the comments down below how you plan on starting your new sketchbook, or how you started your last sketchbook. What kind of things do you do? Do you decorate it? Do you put stickers on it? Do you paint the cover? What little strategies have you employed over the years? I would love to get some feedback, because again, this is something that I've run into in my own personal life and in my time teaching students, but it is not exhaustive experience by any scope and scale. Well, as always, thank you for your time. Have a good one, y'all. See you soon.